Good morning, everyone. It's such a privilege to come this morning and share the Word of God with you. I've been thinking about this year, and 2020 certainly has had its challenges, hasn't it? And it's had its changes. And who would have thought that we'd be here, online again, in level 3, going down to level 2, still not being able to meet in church. But hey, changes is what life is all about. And to me, life feels like a bit of a roller coaster. And those that know me know that I usually love roller coasters. Roller coasters are awesome. They're so much fun and I love them. And if you've been to a theme park with me, my family can vouch for me. I absolutely love them. But this roller coaster of life really seems a little bit different at the moment. And all the changes that are going on and the curves that are being thrown to us and the loop-de-loops that we're doing at the moment can seem a little bit overwhelming. And so this morning I want to share with you a story about a couple of people in the Bible that had a bit of a roller coaster ride. And my sermon today is titled, Let's Not Get Off the Roller Coaster. So let's have a read of this story. It's in 1 Kings chapter 17, verse 1 to 16. And it's about Elijah. And I'm going to read the whole story to you. Now Elijah the Tishbite from Tishbe in Gilead said to Ahab, As the Lord the God of Israel lives, whom I serve, there will neither be dew nor rain in the next few years except at my word. Then the word of the Lord came to Elijah, Leave here, turn eastward and hide in the Kerith ravine, east of the Jordan. You will drink from the brook, and I have directed the ravens to supply you with food there. So he did what the Lord had told him. He went to Kerith ravine, east of the Jordan, and he stayed there. The ravens brought him bread and meat in the morning, and bread and meat in the evening, and he drank from the brook. Sometime later, the brook dried up because there had been no rain in the land. Sounds a little bit like Auckland at the moment. Then the word of the Lord came to him. Go at once to Zarephath in the region of Sidon and stay there. I have directed a widow there to supply you with food. So he went to Zarephath. When he came to the town gate, a widow was there gathering sticks. He called to her and asked, Would you bring me a little water in a jar so I may have a drink? As she was going to get it, he called, And bring me, please, a piece of bread. As surely as the Lord your God lives, she said, I don't have any bread, only a handful of flour in a jar and a little olive oil in a jug. I'm gathering a few sticks to take home and make a meal for myself and my son, that we may eat it and die. Elijah said to her, Don't be afraid. Go home and do as you have said, but first make a small loaf of bread for me from what you have, and bring it to me. And then make something for yourself and your son. For this is what the Lord, the God of Israel, says. The jar of flour will not be used up, and the jug of oil will not run dry until the day the Lord sends rain on the land. She went away and did as Elijah had told her. So there was food every day for Elijah, and for the woman, and for her family. For the jar of flour was not used up, and the jug of oil did not run dry, in keeping with the word of the Lord spoken by Elijah. I really absolutely love this story and feel that it's really applicable to us today. And so I'm going to relate our lives and what we're going through with being on a roller coaster, since I love them so much. So there's a few points that I want to share this morning. First of all, there are very many different roller coasters. So I've been to a couple of theme parks. Some of you may have been to Rainbow's End, some of you may have worked at Rainbow's End. But there's been a few that I've been to. Movie World is one of my favourites in Australia, and we had the privilege of taking the family and going there last November. But also at the beginning of this year, before the whole COVID thing and the restrictions and the lockdown, Doug and I were privileged to go and visit our daughter in LA. And it was her graduation. We had an amazing time. But one of those days, we went to Six Flags in California, which is just roller coasters, nothing else, and lots of them. And it was amazing. And there's so many different roller coasters. The one at Movie World that they have now, I think it's called the DC coaster. You can actually do it facing backwards. It was awesome. It was amazing. And, there's so many different things that are happening in our lives. Each of us are on a different roller coaster. Each of us are going through different things, different changes. We're facing different hills or valleys or mountains. Some of us are coping really well with what's going on. Some of us have got our hands in the air, woohoo, going around the roller coaster. Some of us are holding on for dear life. And we're all going through different experiences. When we look at the story of Elijah and the widow, Elijah went through some very major changes in his life. First of all, he prophesied that there's going to be no rain. And God sent him to hide in a brook. And he said that he would feed him there, the birds would come and feed him, and that he would provide drink for him. But because of the drought, because of what actually Elijah had prophesied, he was actually a victim of his own obedience to God, which brings up an interesting point. And because of that, he had to move, he had to change, he had to move from there and go somewhere else. Stuff happens in our lives that sometimes when we're obedient to God, these things happen, but we need to keep trusting in him. We need to keep holding on and knowing that God is in control, that God is looking after us. We look at the widow. The widow found herself in a situation that she had no control over. She hadn't chosen to be a widow. She didn't choose to lose her husband. And here she was in the middle of a drought that had happened to her. She had no control over the weather. She had no control over the rain or how she was being provided for. And so we're all on very different journeys through this time, and especially through this time of COVID. We're doing different things. For instance, I can still work. I'm an essential worker, and it's a blessing to be able to still work and to provide and to have food on the table. But I know that there's a lot of people going through difficult times where their work has been affected and their families have been affected. And a lot of us have got children at home that we have to deal with every day now. And so we're all on different roller coasters. But I want to encourage you that even though we're going through different things and things are changing differently, that we need to hold on to God and know that he is in control and that he has our safety as number one priority. He wants to look after us. He wants to protect us. He wants to be with us. Maybe if you are one of those people that's going through and you've got your hands in the air and life is good at the moment, it's great. Maybe you can be one that can be an encouragement and a blessing to other people, just like Elijah was a blessing to the widow. Just like he stepped out and listened to God and he was able to be a blessing. If you go as a family or as a group of friends to a theme park and go on roller coasters, there's going to be some people that absolutely love them, like me. There's going to be some people like my husband who absolutely hates them, and you have to talk them into going on one roller coaster. There's going to be other people that are kind of a little bit nervous, or maybe they haven't been here before, maybe they haven't done that before. But there's people there that we're going to encourage them that they can get through this. So maybe you're one of those ones that are having a hard time at the moment, that your roller coaster is a bit freaky, a bit scary, and you need to really hold on to God. Maybe you need the encouragement of those around you. Or maybe you're the person there that's going to encourage those people. You can be out there, you can be listening to people, you can be meeting them on Zoom, you can be sending an encouraging text to these people and saying, yep, I'm with you, I'm here, I can pray for you, I can help you and assist you. Let's be people like Elijah who helped the widow, and let's be people like the widow who trusted in Elijah. That's the first thing. We're all on different roller coasters. Second thing, roller coasters change directions a lot. There's ups and downs, there's round and rounds, there's all different things. And I want to talk to you about one roller coaster I went on at Six Flags, and it's called the X2. And if you want to, you can look up a video online. It is amazing. So you sit in these seats. There's the track that goes down the middle, and there's two seats on either side of the track. These seats, you sit in backwards and they rotate 360 as you're going around the roller coaster. It is freaky. It is amazing. It is so out there. It changes a lot. Sometimes you're looking up, sometimes you're looking down, you're going around. It's just very, very crazy. In actual fact, I Googled it this morning, and it said that there's actually music playing. I'm not sure that I heard any music playing when I was on that roller coaster. There were so many things. And life is going to throw us different things. Life is going to throw us some curveballs. But God's got it sorted, and we need to understand that God is in control. Elijah had some big changes happen in his life. He had to run away and hide in the desert. He had to be fed by ravens and be provided water from the brook. And I take that's an amazing miracle. And it says that the brook dried up. But God could have miraculously kept that brook going. He could have miraculously kept Elijah there, but he didn't. He wanted Elijah to change. He wanted Elijah to move on. If Elijah hadn't had moved on, if he hadn't have been listening to God, then he would never have met the widow. He would never have been the salvation for that woman and her son and her family. And that's an amazing thing to remember, that sometimes we don't understand what God's doing. There's changes that are coming, but we need to understand that God's got it under control, and that sometimes the changes need to happen for our own good, and that it might lead to the next miracle and the next miracle and the next miracle. You know, Elijah went from there, he went from the brook to the widow, and from there he went up the Mount Carmel and called down fire from heaven. If he had not been open to God and open to the changes that had happened in his life, I don't believe those things would have happened. Maybe he would have gone somewhere completely different. But God changes us and directs us and leads us and guides us, and we need to remember that through the difficult times and through the good times. Sometimes we don't even see that God is going to move. In 1 Kings 17, verses 8 to 9, it says, God said he instructed a widow to feed Elijah. It says in the book, I have directed a widow there to supply you with food. Did the widow know that Elijah was coming? No. Did the widow have this wonderful vision? Was the widow visited by an angel? No. She didn't know anything about this, but God did. God had it all under control, amen. You know, Elijah went there, God told him to go, but the widow had no idea that he was coming. She had no idea that she was going to meet him that day, and that he was going to instruct her to do what he did, and he was going to help save her family. We need to be open to the changes that God has in our lives. They're going to come, we need to trust in him. My third and final point is, even roller coasters can be too much, even for a fun-loving roller coaster girl like me. So the day that I went to Six Flags in California with Emma and her friend was February, which is the middle of winter in California, it was a beautiful blue sky day. Doug decided not to come that day, which was probably a pretty good idea, because there were no lines. There were absolutely no lines at all. And so we went from one roller coaster, we walked and we got to the line, we got on, we did the roller coaster, we walked to the next one, we got on, we did the next one. 12 roller coasters in a row is way too much. I felt so ill. It was just too much. And sometimes the roller coasters that we're on can feel like it's just too much. And what did the widow do in her story? She said, this is it. Life is too much. I'm going to eat this. I've got the last little bit of oil and I've got the last little bit of flour. I'm going to make a last meal for my son and I, and we're going to go and die. And sometimes we feel just overwhelmed by things that are happening. And I really want to encourage you to not give up. That getting off the roller coaster is not an option. Once you're in there and strapped in, we need to stay strapped into God. We need to keep going. We need to persevere. Through all the things that are happening, we need to know that God is still on the throne. What did Elijah say to the widow? Do not be afraid. Don't be afraid. God has got this all sorted. Matthew 6, verse 33 says, but seek first the kingdom and his righteousness, and all these things will be given to you. What are all these things? Just the general things in life, what you're going to eat, what you're going to wear, what you're going to work. That's what God's talking about here. He's not talking about huge, big things. He's talking about everyday life. God cares about us, cares about our everyday, cares about what we're going to eat, cares about who we're going to meet, cares about our family. Let's be ones who don't get off the roller coaster. You might not like it, you might hate roller coasters, but sometimes we just need to hold on for dear life. Hold on to God. The changes are going to come thick and fast sometimes, especially looking back at this year, but we need to continue to trust in God, and also to continue to trust in the people around us, continue to trust in the people that God's put in our lives, and be an encouragement to others as well. Be there for other people. Remember to turn to God and his promises, his amazing things that he has given us to trust in. God will be with us. Quite often to go forward, we need to keep changing. Don't stop changing. God is in the business of changing. Don't be afraid of change. Don't be afraid of the things that are going to come our way, because you never know what miracles it's going to lead to, what amazing opportunities it's going to bring for God to move in your life. You never know what's just around the corner. There might be a bigger miracle just waiting, and the amazing testimonies that we can have of God's goodness and his grace and his love towards each one of us. I really pray this morning that this has been an encouraging word to you. Don't get off the roller coaster. Learn to love it. Learn to maybe live with the things that you're going through, but most of all, trust in God. Be an encouragement to other people. Trust in His word and His promises. I really do hope that this message has encouraged you and that you have a fantastic week coming up. Bless you all, and I look forward to meeting you in some Zoom meetings and seeing you again online next week. Bless you.